Hey everyone, it is the Redmen Originals Podcast. Welcome aboard. I'm Paul Machin, Chris Pajak, Chloe Bloxham and Dan Clubb join me as always for this one. We are going to be doing Liverpool general transfer news and assistant manager in... Is that confirmed, by the way?
Not confirmed, but Paul Joyce confirmed.
Paul Joyce, as good as confirmed. We'll do transfers, ins and outs and everything in between. Before we do, we have just dropped this over on Instagram. Our Redmen 15th anniversary footy shirt is available to pre-order right now. Here's a little look at that. Everyone, it is the 15th anniversary of Redmen TV on YouTube, and we thought what better way to celebrate than by making our own football shirt. Yes, here it is in all of its glory. It is available in a very limited pre-order window. Those pre-orders end on the 25th of June. So if you want to secure one, move quickly, head to redmenmerch.com and grab one. Yeah, it pays homage to Liverpool's FA Cup winning kit from 91-92, but also obviously celebrates our 15-year anniversary as well with the updated Redmen 15 logo and a fully sewn badge as well. I love it. I hope you will too, but be quick. Head to redmenmerch.com right now to grab one of yours. Do not miss out. Yes, anyway, grab yourself a Redmen 15th anniversary shirt. The window to order ends on the 25th of June on redmenmerch.com. Right, out. News/ins. Gio van Bronckhorst. Dan Clubb. After having the big assistant manager chat last week, he fits the bill of all the kind of things we were talking about. We were running through Dutch footballers who it could have been, not quite as close to home as like a Dirk Kuyt, but certainly a man with masses of managerial and playing experience in Van Bronckhorst.
Yeah, pretty high profile one actually. Not one I anticipated, not one that even remotely crossed my mind, a little bit left field. And I must admit, it did surprise me when I initially saw the reports and the news because, as I say, like he's had a proper crack at being a manager and he's been relatively successful as well. Obviously Besiktas, obviously won the Eredivisie with Feyenoord, obviously close link to him on the slot there, and yeah, obviously high profile playing career as well to boot. So I think it's a hell of a get for Liverpool to bring him in that role because it felt more Dirk Kuyt and it felt more John Heitinga in terms of like an up-and-coming manager, somebody trying to make the way in the game, maybe learn from Arne Slot and what have you. But yeah, because he's not even, the right-hand man, because that's Sipke Hulshoff. He's sort of the next guy along. So yeah, one hell of an appointment from Liverpool point of view, and I'm sure they'll be over the moon when it's confirmed.
Yeah, it just conjured lots of like Championship manager memories for me, Chris.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. I must admit, like Dan, I was very surprised about it, but it doesn't come across like it's a long-term appointment, and I don't know whether that's something that Slot was looking for. Obviously, Heitinga wasn't going to be a long-term appointment either. It does make me think more of like what Alex Ferguson used to do at Manchester United, bringing in a number 2, changing the messaging up, the coaching every couple of years. Maybe that's the style that he wants to go for, with him setting the sort of overall direction, but actually the day-to-day, mixing it up for the players. We'll only know as time goes on whether that's something that he'll continue to do, but I kind of like it, to be honest with you, because he feels like he's very comfortable in his skin about what he wants to achieve with the coaching of the players, and he's comfortable enough to know that he can coach a coach as well, because it's now 2 guys in 2 years and stuff like that. So it is an interesting one for me, and I am wondering whether it's just going to be a revolving door of these Slot acolytes who come in and go and spread their wings and hopefully do well elsewhere.
We were talking about the Gerrard thing, and obviously Gerrard brings with him, Chloe, because it's the Liverpool connection and the Scouts connection. He means so much to the club that there are more eyes on a Steven Gerrard on the bench, but like Gio van Bronckhorst has got a comparable career to Steven Gerrard. Like, I mean, not never the star player for any of the teams that he played in, but like won the Premier League with Arsenal, won 2 La Liga titles with Barcelona, won the Champions League with Barcelona, and then the managerial stuff. It's like, this is a brilliant, experienced footballer, and I think to Chris's point, you can walk into that dressing room and people can go, who are you and what can you do? And he can go, yeah, look at these big shiny collection of medals that I've got. Yeah,
he's definitely been there, done that. And that we always talk about experience. And when I seen it, I was shocked, because actually he's very much, overachieving in terms of not coming here, like going and doing his own thing. That's the level he's at, being a manager elsewhere, being the main man, the number one. So it kind of feels like not a step down for him, but like fair play to him for not having the ego to think or want to be the main man. He's clearly seen an opportunity at Liverpool and thought, there's more experience for me to get even better at this, take what I can from, you know, a Premier League winning manager in Arne Slot and the way that they looked at it. And he's probably looked at Johnny Heitinga and thought, Jesus Christ, well, he's just gone and got Ajax after 1 year with Slot and doing well in the Premier League. So let me see if I can go and get that experience and move on further. So yeah, I think he's defo got the resume and something else to be doing this. I think it is a step down for him. I mean, look, the club, not so much. But the fact that, like you mentioned there, he'd be third down the line, you know, that is kind of an ego kind of drop from being the main man. So fair play to him. I'm excited about it because I do think he's decent and I think he's got all the experience that he needs. And clearly, like you said, if this is a short-term thing, it can help him get the experience. Hope we get a new message, be able to win some more trophies, and then he can go on and move to another big club for him.
I like this as like a guest speaker type deal where we just bring in a revolving like number 3 who just comes in and he's like, oh, go on, who have we got this year? Giovanni Van Bronckhorst. Wow, okay, mate. Yeah, what was it like being at Barcelona? What, you know, tell us all about all those kind of stories. Yeah, I think that's very good indeed. I'm more than happy with that. It does fit because you think what Johnny Heitinga was, that was a guy who had Premier League experience, though, which is another thing. And obviously now Slot's got a year of Premier League managerial experience. But yeah, it makes you wonder, and we won't know until he gets the next guy and whether we start to see a concurrent theme running throughout them. But you can see how Van Bronckhorst is in some regards an upgrade on what Johnny Heitinga was within that, which is to say, obviously a coach, but someone who understands what it is to perform in the Premier League.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, his experience all round is obviously good, isn't it? You know, that's what you're looking for. You're looking for fresh voices. You're looking for that sort of fresh experience, and it's what Slot's gone out there and clearly identified. And, you know, as I said before, I am really looking forward to seeing what that role becomes over the next few years, because, you know, there is a part of me that thinks to myself, well, is it a good thing that we have a change of coach? Well, as long as Slot thinks it's a good thing, that's okay with me also.
And ultimately, Heitinga wanted to go, so
yeah, exactly.
Like not like he really had a choice.
I mean, Slot came out and said about Heitinga, didn't he, that, you know, it's a great move for his career, but another year might have been better for his career with me. But, you know, you got to take those opportunities when you can get them, because you never know if they're going to come around again, do you? The timing was perfect for the Ajax job for him, and actually us having roots in Ajax when Jarell Quansah's linked and all that type of stuff is not a bad thing either. Yeah.
The other thing is that from what I've seen of him, of the touchline, he seems quite like emotional and quite passionate. So, you know, we've got the stone cold in Arne Slot. He shows, you know, his reactions sometimes, as we all know, when he got on his knees basically on the touchline. But you might see more, you know, emotion from someone like him on the sideline who can, you know, celebrate a bit more with the players and rally the players up, where Slot's just cool, composed, constantly.
Him and Sipka Hulshov just doing cartwheels down.
Yeah, it's just one hell of a CV for an assistant coach to come in. It really, and I know you're right, everyone benefits in terms of we get a sort of a young up-and-coming wannabe top-level elite manager. And he will benefit from Arne Slot and Sipka Hulshov and just being around Liverpool, of course he will. But as I say, Rangers, Besiktas, winning the league in Holland with Feyenoord, then come in and be the number 3 essentially at Liverpool. Like, again, it's great news for all of us, especially from a Liverpool point of view. But yeah, I'm just still a little bit taken aback by the fact we managed to pull it off.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, we'll move things on. Just briefly speaking about Ajax and Jaros going on to Ajax on loan. Going to sign a new deal, pretty standard behaviour at this point.
Yeah, very, very Liverpool. This obviously for the back of signing the young goalkeeper last week, Pepsi from Hungary. Yeah, I think Liverpool goalkeeper department is in rude health, it's fair to say, even with the departure of Keith Keller, who obviously
it is the most really overqualified department in all of FSG, isn't it?
Yeah,
Given that they've got like coaches, then we've got Taffarel, then FSG have got a head of global goalkeeper.
Hans Seifert, I want to say his name is, if I remember rightly, from last summer. But yeah, Liverpool and FSG, by and large, as you say, have really sort of doubled down on getting the goalkeeper boxed off for years and years to come. And I was really impressed with Harvey Elliott when he came in at times last season. Obviously the Palace game and things away at Brighton as well. He might have played too. I thought he did really well. But yeah, it's a good move for him. Obviously the Johnny Heitinga connection lives on there too. So I think he'll get a good year of experience under his belt over in Holland. And whether he does come back and he ever is sort of an option for us remains to be seen. But with giving him a new long-term deal, it just doubles down on his contract and obviously his valuation will hold. So yeah, smart.
I'd be interested to know. I tried to quickly Google and couldn't find the answer, but how much Inter Milan paid for Andre Onana, and like whether there's just something in that of like Liverpool going, well, a season at Ajax automatically makes Jaros a X
10 to 15 million.
Exactly. Whereas you put him somewhere else or you keep him around, then he's a £5 million goalkeeper, but actually getting him a go in a not quite a top European league per se, but yeah, no bad thing. Right, I want to talk about Trent, but let's consider this our line drawn under him on this podcast for the foreseeable future. He might come up in Bias Football Pod with the Club World Cup going on for the next few weeks. But so we've seen it. It's announced. Chloe, number 12. It's Trent on the shirt. Speaks fluent Spanish. Fucking hilarious. Like I thought it was beyond hysterical when he just started speaking, and like there's an argument, me and my dad were having this conversation last night, that maybe he just learnt that speech. No. But I didn't get that sense. I got the sense that he'll have practiced it, and he won't be quite as fluent, I don't think, in the day-to-day of it all, but he was much better at Spanish than I think anyone expected him to be.
Better than his English.
Yeah, thanks. It's really glad that a lad who decided to leave Liverpool like 2 weeks ago has somehow picked up fluent Spanish
that is
in that time.
From like March till now, say, to be able to come up with that quick.
Absolutely incredible. The best part of the entire thing was when he turned around and said he'd been waiting for ages for this to get over the line, and then shit himself, and 2 seconds later was like, and by ages I mean 2 weeks. I mean 2 weeks and ages.
A week can be a long time in football, right? Right? Am I right, guys? Am I right?
Yeah, but to be honest, I don't care. I just don't care. Like, I'm fine not speaking about. I actually wish his brother didn't have any ties to any other Liverpool players, because it's just going to keep coming up for the rest of the summer. And quite frankly, I was done. I was done after he came on and got booed. That was me done. But you know what I have seen? I've seen a lot of people backtracking as well. Remember the pods where a lot of people were for booing him, a lot of people weren't booing him. The amount of people that have turned around and fumed at me like, why the hell did I clap him off that pitch and give him the reception that I did?
I said this all along. Like I said, it should have just been met with stony silence, polite applause. But it was the really
people overreacting because they didn't like the boos.
The big singing of the songs and all that kind of stuff. It's like, and I know this, like, what a perfect send off. Like, wasn't your send off? It was a fucking parade for Liverpool winning the. Yeah. Look, I mean, there is something, Chris. For me, it all fits in terms of like what he's trying to do and what he wants to do. He's all in on Real Madrid, so he's got to speak Spanish, and he's got to do what McManaman did and not what Owen did. He's got to go and integrate himself, and he's got the number, he's got the name on the back of the shirt. He's changed his Instagram now, so it's just Trent as opposed to whatever it was, Trent Arnold 66 or whatever it was prior to that. He's all in on brand Trent. That's Madrid's clearly the club if that's what he wants to be doing with himself.
Yeah, I suppose it is. It's a piss me off still, to be honest. Though, I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like knowing that you've been doing the dirty on us for 2 years and learning Spanish hasn't pissed me off. It's 100% pissed me off. Yeah. I'm more angry now than I was when he signed, but I didn't know he spoke Spanish. Like, you know what I mean? That's just fucking. It's just annoying, isn't it? Though it is. It's just ridiculous. What's the guy doing? Yeah. You know what I mean? Just fuck off. Just go away, and I never want to see you again. And I never want to. I'm going to unfollow you actually after this podcast. if I even ever did follow you, Trent, shut up. Like, you know what I mean? Who are you? Go away. Just fuck off.
He's full of shit anyway, because he came out and saying like it would only ever be Real Madrid, having given an interview that resurfaced saying that Barcelona was the club that he always watched in La Liga and would have loved to play for them. So
it's just given Barcelona's financial situation, it could only be Real Madrid.
The best, I mean, another part, I grew up watching Real Madrid. They won 3 back-to-back. One of them was against you. You didn't fucking watch.
You stood in front of the cup with a fucking smile on your face.
Grim.
I'd have fucking ripped the handles off the thing and broke it. Like if anyone tried to have me a photograph in front of that.
He used the expression like it's a dream as well at one point, didn't he?
They're taking the piss out of him as well, standing in front of that trophy from Paris.
Well,
I love the meme of like, that's the one where I fell asleep at the back post.
They are wheeling them out at every given night, like they always do with new signings, but it feels like because of how close we are to it, I'm just seeing him all the time on the timeline.
Did anybody see the clip that was going around today? I think it was, where they're all in training and like there's a massive group huddle and he's just awkwardly stood on the outside.
Actually going it.
It's quite good.
Yeah, there's somebody, Thor, the dyslexic, says, trust me, you don't get that good a language in a matter of weeks. Yeah, we know. Even if Spanish is one of the easier languages for an English speaker. Like, my Spanish is okay, and I was listening to it going, oh, good word. That's a good conjunction you've put in that sentence there, mate. Well done. I go to Spain, and that I know that word in French, but I don't know that particular part of the sentence in Spanish. So yeah, listen, fair play to him. But this is the thing: if you're gonna do it, if you're gonna go down that route of walking away from your boyhood club and setting fire to everything, he's got no choice. Yep. He's got no choice but to be all in at Madrid. So yeah, I say good luck to him. I don't necessarily mean those words, and not necessarily mean the sentiment behind it, but like fair fucks to him. You know what I mean? He's made his decision. Off he pops. We will see him in the Club World Cup in the next couple of weeks, and
I would
see how that goes.
I discovered earlier, something that they quick, the 10 million they paid, they could have got him anyway for the latter stages of it for free. So they literally paid 10 million for the group stage, which is just mad.
But
brilliant from us, though.
Great for us, yeah,
100%. But it shows how fucking Spanish footy is financially.
Yeah.
They need that money. You know, that's worth it to add to the, I guess, increase the chances. Although, again, we're going to do it on the bias show, given how that competition has gone in the opening stages, I'm not sure the group stage is quite the challenge that Real Madrid seem to think it might be, unless they're just dead set on having no one at, rather than having someone who's no one at right back or whatever. I don't know. Okay, anyway, on to Liverpool players, perhaps not for long. Darwin rumours, Dan, Napoli this time?
Yeah.
They don't have the dough.
No, they don't have the dough that Saudi do. I think Liverpool might hold out for as long as possible for that Saudi money.
Napoli have got 45 million to spend, you reckon?
That's not going to get it done.
That's not getting
a lot of people would probably drive him to Napoli for 45 million, potentially, I think it's fair to say, but I don't think Liverpool will be quite as smitten by that price tag, personally. I think
because they're linked with Grealish as well, aren't they?
Yeah, and they've just signed De Bruyne recently.
Who else are they linked with? Grealish, there's somebody else they're linked with. Garnacho from United, and Darwin Nunez and Napoli have come out and gone, we've only got 45 million.
I mean Darwin Nunez being fed balls by Billy Gilmour and Scott McTominay is a thing, isn't it? But I think that's the sort of
KDB, more
granted,
likely.
Yeah. That's a sort of bracket tier of football go across Europe that I'm looking at for Darwin Nunez. Even Atletico Madrid probably falls into that category. Like, I don't think, whilst Napoli obviously Serie A winners, I think he isn't quite elite anywhere. I think we've seen that now, but I think sort of that next rung down or the move to Saudi would make most sense for him at this juncture.
45 doesn't feel like the way, hypothetically, it doesn't feel like the worst return on Darwin. It's obviously, it would be a big loss in terms of what we paid for him, but if apart from in the absence of a Saudi bid, I'm not sure any of us would have been turning 45 million down at the start of this summer.
I think 60 is probably closer to what I'd be wanting for him. I
He's
think
still
Liverpool will
young.
want that as well.
And also, look, I've said this time.
They will. Sorry,
we were only here a week ago where I think you were saying Arsenal can have him, and I weren't. I reckon he's an alright footballer somewhere down there. Like, I reckon he's alright.
It's just not going to be for us. There's nothing
exactly.
wrong with that.
It just, whether it's the pressure of being a number 9 for Liverpool, the fact that I reckon if he goes to Serie A and he's got Kevin De Bruyne putting them on a plate for him, whether he misses 9 out of 10, I'm not sure, he might do still, but I reckon if he gets his confidence back, you might actually see the player that he might once be. He just can't do it at a club where there's that much pressure on you to be the focal point. I don't know. But I would, if I was Liverpool, hold out for bigger money. If I was Darwin, I'd want to stay in Europe.
45 million would make him, pounds, would make him our 5th most expensive sale of all time. Like, yeah, it's just an interesting one. Someone here in the comments actually who says about JD, Napoli don't have the money, but they do have Osimhen to swap for Nunez possibly. I'm not sure about the swap thing, but I think the Osimhen thing is, they'll sell him this summer, won't they? So
Galatasaray wants him. He said no.
There's Saudi offers as well.
He said no to one of the Saudi teams, didn't he? And Galatasaray now have came back for him because wasn't he on loan there?
Yes, they might get a bit of money in the coffers to the point to put towards Darwin. Maybe it's interesting for me, and you're right in terms of there is obviously a footballer there somewhere deep down, but it's consistency level. He's not going to do it consistently enough for Liverpool. Liverpool want the elite of the elite, the best of the best, and he's just not going to be that. And you mentioned I'd love to agree about the confidence thing, but it feels like how many line in the sand moments have we had with Darwin? You go like, that's it now. Newcastle, like, if you need your confidence, on you go. Brentford, confident, never happened. So it is just ultimately a level and a consistency thing with him.
It's Dejan Lovren all over again, and like Dejan Lovren was a very, very good centre half, and there'll be people who scoff at that, and most people understand what I'm saying. He was good enough to play for. He was more than good enough to play for Liverpool. He was a Champions League quality centre half, but he had mistakes in him, and but someone like Darwin, the money that we're sat on with him could be invested in someone who just might be a better fit. Ultimately, you can. He's absolutely fine, I think, to be in the squad because the skills that he's got will cause teams problems, but you just can't. There's just no point. Yeah. There's no point in having that. You could go and get, honestly, like, maybe Jadon Danns isn't quite there or whatever, but you could find someone who's got tons of pace and doesn't score loads of goals and just stretches teams, but probably cost you half as much as Darwin Nunez if you really wanted. Whereas if you get the right amount of money for him, as I think we might have discussed this last week, but whatever, is that's a big chunk towards reinvested in someone who might be an absolute game changer.
It's also a place that we all know we want to improve. Liverpool want to improve, and us as a fan base know that striker department needs to improve, because we did Diaz as the number 9, the false 9, and look, Florian Wirtz might come in and do a little bit of that as well. But for me, you can't rely on Diaz doing that again, because it doesn't always work. You've got to have different weapons. Jota's hardly ever fit, so you can't rely him to go back-to-back games with the pressure of being reigning champions and then also wanting to do better in the likes of the Champions League. We did run out of a bit of steam towards the end of the season, and when we called upon Darwin Nunez, it was more infuriating than anything else, because the simple things like staying on side, just he would struggle to do.
He gets worse as seasons go on, which is the mad thing about Darwin. Like he never seems to quite come strong where you think he would. And I think the change of manager obviously had an impact on that by the end.
Yeah, I watched some of the clips from like his first season at Liverpool, and you can see why Liverpool wants them. Like, he was always in really good areas, always on the end of everything. He just hardly ever scored or put it in the back of the net. And that first season, you could see something that you could work with, but because of the change of manager, he's not getting those chances. He's not in those areas anymore. We play differently. He doesn't suit that style, and therefore try and get the most money for him. Better for him and his career, and better for Liverpool.
I think that's it, isn't it? I think for me, I think Jürgen, at the time of signing Darwin Nunez, wanted to make Darwin Nunez the focal point of the attack. And I think he realised quickly enough that you couldn't do that, because you take a dip in numbers from Mo Salah and stuff like that, and then slots come in, and between them, Diaz and Gakpo from that left hand side have got goals this season, just gone. Obviously Mo's numbers have increased. You need someone who's going to facilitate the wide players getting goals and assists, and Darwin doesn't do that. Darwin needs to be the focal point of the attack, but he's not good enough to be Liverpool's focal point. So you move on, you find someone who's a better fit, who works better with the two lads that are consistently putting the ball in the back of the net, and it's that simple.
That's it for me, because you could go again, theoretically, with Darwin Nunez for the whole campaign, or Diogo Jota, and you're just going to get to a point, October, November, and all parties, Darwin included, are going to go, we shouldn't have done this. You know what I mean? We should have cashed in when we had a chance in the summer. So, and
he's one of them players, sorry Dan, who in years gone by you'd send out on loan and he'd do okay, and then he'd come back and you maybe with pre-season, we'll see how he gets on, and he does well in pre-season, and you keep around and you
Jesse
go,
Lingard,
no,
Manchester United.
Jesse Lingard, and you go, oh no, actually no, not.
He's still not right for us.
Voronin was that,
absolutely.
not Voronin is another who gets like slandered like he was the most terrible footballer ever. Voronin was all right. He just wasn't particularly all right for us. Go back and watch the Besiktas highlights of the 8-0. He is stunning in that game of football. But yeah, so it's actually probably for the best. If Liverpool decided,
Yossi was better though in that game.
Yeah, Yossi was unreal. But but honestly. Dude, I said this earlier on in the season. I was doing some research on it. I was like, go and watch it. And you who is that blonde lad who's linking every player like prime Bobby Firmino for us? It was Andre Voronin. Yeah, we're sure he'll move on, but it is interesting. I wonder what people at home, what is your limit? What's the number at which you go, God? Like Fabinho thing 2 summers ago, the bid came in and there was no haggling. There was no public hang on a second, hand wringing over it like there was with Henderson. It was that's what we place evaluation against Fabinho, and I wonder what that is for people at home, and then I wonder what Liverpool's is on top. Right, Chloe, Aston Villa wants Harvey Elliott. Thoughts on that, and who else do you think should be in for him?
I think pretty much anyone in the Premier League who aren't Manchester City or Arsenal should be in for him. I think it's good for Aston Villa, but also they've got Rodgers in there. They've got Ramsey, who we've not seen as much. But like you said there, they have lost Asensio and they did lose Marcus Rashford. Playing him out wide's not going to work because he doesn't have the pace, but he's such a phenomenal technician of a football. And yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Newcastle is the other standout for me, who, I mean, I think Newcastle would love Harvey Elliott. I mean, they've already got an incredible midfield, but if you put Harvey Elliott in front of Bruno Guimaraes or Joe Linton alongside Sandro Tonali, then, I think that's quite an unbelievable midfield. So I'm not surprised by it. I think that's the level that he can play at. Once again, it's going to hurt me when he goes, because I think he is a brilliant footballer. It's just he doesn't fit our system. And once again, we've just spoken about Darwin Nunez, but Darwin Nunez in my head isn't that good of a footballer. So it's very easy for me to sit there and go, doesn't fit, get rid. Yeah. Harvey Elliott's different. I know he doesn't fit the system. I know even if he stayed, you had the players who were looking to add, and you've still got Dom Curtis there. It's just he doesn't stand a chance, and he does deserve to go and play regular football.
Dan, I think your reaction was a little different on the Villa thing. Wasn't your reaction on the lines of why would Villa want him?
A little bit, yeah. Only because of the two players that Chloe mentions. Really, I think if they were forced to sell one of them because of PSR issues, then there's definitely a spot for Harvey Elliott to waltz into and play a leading role and be a star of the show. Really, at Villa, he's definitely got the ability to do all those things. But yeah, I just think with Ramsey and Rodgers in particular, I'm not entirely convinced there is a spot for him.
Do you think he can play an 8?
No.
Just because he did that for Jurgen.
No, he did, but it's all about not fitting the system. I actually do think he does fit Liverpool's system. I think I said this to Chris a few weeks ago when we did a Wirtz show. There's just levels to this. You know what I mean? And whilst I think he's got the invention and the ability in tight spaces, and he'll do the dirty work and put the shift in for you, Florian Wirtz does that at a completely different way and a completely different level entirely. So, yeah, I think there's definitely a club out there for Harvey. And I do unfortunately think it will be the end of his Liverpool career this summer with Wirtz coming in. But I think Brighton would be a really good fit. I really like the Newcastle shout. I just don't see where he walks into. He's at a point now in his career, and he's essentially said this himself, whereby he needs to be playing week in, week out. I don't think he gets it that at Villa necessarily from the get-go.
Villa are just interesting, aren't they? Because they've got to, obviously with the loans and stuff, it's hard to understand exactly what their squad's going to look like next season, Chris. But obviously they did that. That was their mission in January, was to add depth and quality. They've actually kind of got, they brought Barkley in last summer and he barely played footy for them. So it shows they're prepared to go and get good technical footballers in there. So I agree with Dan. The pathway's harder to see. But then if you'd said we've got to fit Marcus Rashford in and Asensio in, and somehow Ollie Watkins is still going to be the main man in that team, that would have been a bit of a head scratcher, I guess, to some extent.
Yeah, I think so. I think if I was Harvey, I'd be looking at it and going, who's going to make me the fulcrum of this midfield? Not just the bit part player. That's not what he's about right now. And I don't actually personally see a fit for him in England. Okay. I look at all of those teams and go, you're good enough to be an important part of this side. but who's willing to take a risk on Harvey Elliott right now? And I don't see that there's a good option for that. I do see like Italian or German football as maybe something not quite as physical as the Premier League, the pace not quite there. You see what Scott McTominay and the likes of them have done
Billy
recently.
Gilmore can win a league.
Yeah, if you know, there's a dearth of attacking number 10s in Italian football now. They just don't have them anymore. I think there's loads of sides who will be looking for someone like Harvey Elliott. The difficulty for him is, for him to be the best version of himself, he has to be completely trusted by the manager to go and be that specialist, because he can play the 8. You know, I agree with you, but he's not going to be a brilliant 8. He's not going to be a world class 8. He can do a job there.
You have to set who your other 8s are around him.
Yeah, you're right. It's such an important move for him. I think he's got to find a manager and a club that is going to give him everything that he can go and be the player, because that's the only way that he's going to improve. And maybe it's a step back in terms of the club to get the role that you want, so that you can go forwards and get that role for a bigger club in the future. So I think it's massively important, and he should not rush into it just based on, you know, if it was me and the right club didn't turn up, I would probably just sit and hold until the right club turns. I would if I was Harvey.
Alone?
Potentially, yeah. Why not? Because if you're getting more minutes and stuff, but I do feel he needs the love and the respect of the team, and the manager's put his arm around him going, you're going to be the focal point of this attack.
If it wasn't Erik ten Hag, I'd say by Leverkusen.
Yeah.
Because we know there's a spot opening up there, don't we, in that sort of role, but yeah.
The only problem with that is it's modern football and not many teams. I mean, just ask Kelleher.
But you can make the wrong decision, can't you? And I think that's the thing that he's got to look out for his career. You know, it's all well and good being sat there like a puppy. I want to play. But if you get yourself into the wrong situation, you're never going to hit the heights that your talent deserves.
Ask David Thompson. Yeah. David Thompson was a very good Premier League attacking midfielder, and he should have just stuck it out at Liverpool and even just been a bit part player in Liverpool squad. That remains a choice for Harvey. And the thing is, you've got to be careful about who's giving you your advice. And I know Dan will always go to bat for, don't be a bit part player, go and be the main man, go and play. But you know, there is an honour to being involved in the club that you love more than anything else, and sticking out. We can't bash Trent for not wanting to be a part of the team, and then tell a lad that it's a Liverpool fan that he should be getting off. You know, no matter what, to go and play footy. But if it's your dad telling you need to play, and it's your agent telling you need to play, well, obviously.
Look, there's an example we've talked about already, Gio van Bronckhorst. You know, he's going and he's going to sit and learn from another manager. You know, you've got an opportunity, if you're Harvey Elliott, to see what Florian Wirtz does on a daily, weekly basis. You could just sit there for a year if you wanted to and use that time to get better. I know he's spoken about it, right, about how it's a short career and all that type of stuff. He's got time on his side. He doesn't need to. It's better to make the right decision than the wrong decision, is all I'm saying.
I agree on all of the above. However, he's a bit part player now, before Florian Wirtz arrives. Like, what did he become then?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's hardly had an opportunity this season just gone, and all of a sudden we're spending £160 million on a player who plays in a very similar way and a very similar position, and profile-wise is literally the same age. Like, if I was Harvey Elliott, I'd be looking around going, what next? You know what I mean? So I take all your points, but yeah, I don't see it personally for him.
And also from a Liverpool point of view, if he holds another year, I think his value goes down slightly if he doesn't kick a football. And I get everyone says, yeah, he's got the appearances there, he's made over 100 appearances, and how old's he? And he's obviously English, he'll get the English tax. But if you're hardly seeing him kick a ball in a year, his price will go down. We're all sat here going 50 million. Yeah. And I think that people had the convo upstairs, Aaron, like, it's mad how much footballers are these days. 40 million for Quansah, 50 million for Harvey Elliott. These are the numbers being battered around. From a Liverpool perspective, it might be Liverpool saying to him, you're not going to play, mate, so you need to choose someone.
The other thing in all this, and I made the point earlier on this morning upstairs, this feels like a lot of outs and potentially ins. We've kind of skirted around this, but I looked into it over the weekend. Arne Slot did this first season after his first year in Holland. Like, there were like 10 outgoings from like first team members of the squad, and he signed like 8. So it's quite in keeping with how he operates anyway. So he has a good look for a year and then makes quite cutthroat decisions down the line, and we kind of feel like we're in that territory now.
Liverpool will be pushing probably for him to move on and recoup some of that money that we're going to be spending on Wirtz, won't they?
But again, it goes back to it. Someone's got to be a squad player. Yep. Someone's got to be your 6th or 7th or 8th choice midfielder, and you could do a lot worse than keep a 22-year-old
by far.
fan of the football team.
Absolutely.
It's just for Elliott is that, you know, he's coming toward the end. He won't be playing this will be his last tournament for the under-21s. There's no sign of him getting
I was
that.
waiting for you to say something.
Nonsense,
I was waiting for that.
No sign of him jumping up to the England main squad quite as yet. The only way he's going to do that is by playing Premier League football or good quality European football. So it is. I can understand why there's a lot of pressure on him to make the right call, but also, you know, I know this whole idea that you've got a short career, but he's still in a healthy position in terms of what career he's got ahead of him. There aren't many 22-year-old footballers with over 100 appearances for a top tier European side, you know, who are on the market potentially as well. So
it does make me wonder about the usage of Wirtz as well, though, and like, if Harvey goes, it's not just going to be a straight number 10 because he would probably keep Harvey there.
Would you almost say, could you see Liverpool changing system? Let's not answer the question.
Probably,
that's in part two.
Probably wouldn't have said it quite like that.
Bayer Leverkusen won Jarell Quansah. Interesting tester.
I think it's a hard no from Liverpool's standpoint, to be honest with you there. I don't think you should be making problems for yourself this transfer window. The idea is to go out there and get better, isn't it? Not create problems, certainly in your back line, certainly when there's a cloud hanging over Ibu Karate at the moment. I nearly just left it at Ibu in case he does a brand change in a year's time.
Might be right. I was going to say.
So yeah, I just don't think that Liverpool should be entertaining that at all, because I think there's a centre-back that is going to get moved on. I think it should probably be Joe Gomez.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting tester for Liverpool because it will depend how much money's on the table if that appears. Chloe, he's like we're having this Harvey Elliott conversation. He's not a first teamer. He might go on to be a first team because, you know, there are certain things that he's got going for him just in terms of being a centre half. You know, he's 6'4", 6'5", and he's got the pace and all the kind of physical attributes or whatever.
Loads of fun.
But as Chris rightly points out, it's all well and good. You get 40 million for him, let's say, for the sake of argument. You could go and put that on someone, but it's another player that you've got to train and integrate and bring up, and someone who in reality isn't going to play. Because you're not likely to buy someone who's better than Kanate and Van Dijk this summer. Certainly not for that in that kind of region. So it feels like a problem being made, but Quansah will have a similar sort of thing. Leverkusen would be a pretty interesting proposition for them.
Quansah will probably relish the opportunity of actually leaving Liverpool for the main reason of, I mean, he's gained the experience. He's had his breakout season, which was last season, and it's not last season, the season before, but last season did not go well for the lad. And I think he wants to re-establish himself. He started the season as, you know, the first alongside Virgil van Dijk inside 45 minutes. I think Slot now, you're nowhere near, because Joe Gomez stepped in at one point and, you know, he was the second in line. So Quansah was very much back to your League Cups, your FA Cups, and in those games he didn't do great. I think there will be a number there for Liverpool, but I think it'll be a ridiculous number that is basically, if you really want him, you give us this or not, because Liverpool don't have to make these decisions right now. He's young. And this was a lad, you know, 12 months ago when we were speaking about a potential move for Anthony Gordon. You know, they wanted Jarell Quansah, and all of us as a fan base, as a club, like, absolutely not. That's our centre-back for the next 10 years. So we all remember the quality that he has. He's had a struggling time last season, and he is a confidence player. That position's confidence as well. I'd like him. I said this, and once again, I think the problem is it causes problems for Liverpool. I think he needs to get his confidence back. Whether he can do that by playing these odd games with no rhythm, and then, you know, potentially making more errors. I don't know whether he can do that. I think a season-long loan would be great for him, but I'm not sure that's great for Liverpool, and that's the problem.
The issue with, like, building a squad is that what's the profile of your fourth choice centre half look like? It's either someone who's in the mid-30s or in the 30s and maybe is on the way down, or it's a young lad looking to gain some experience. But he's 22 years old and he's already in there and all that kind of stuff. He is the exact profile of what you'd be looking for.
He's so young as well for a centre-back, isn't he? Chloe mentioned his breakout season. It was exactly that. He exceeded all expectations. Remember Jurgen Klopp midway through the campaign saying, we took a look at him in pre-season, we like what we saw, but nobody could have anticipated what he then went on to become. So, yeah, he shocked the world, if you like, without meaning to sort of over-romanticise it. But, I still like him as a footballer. Chloe's absolutely spot on as well in terms of it felt like everything that went wrong last season was sort of compounded in a goal. He couldn't get away with a mistake, could he? Every time he misplaced anything,
he was bouncing off all kinds of body parts
all the time. And I felt quite sorry for him towards the back end of the campaign because he just couldn't catch a break, basically. But I'm right in saying he didn't too long ago sign a new deal at Liverpool. I think we sort of tied him down to a new long-term contract. So we've clearly doubled down on his ability. And obviously you can have the conversation about protecting values and all that sort of stuff, but it felt more significant than that. I think Liverpool have high hope still for Jarell Quansah. I still do. And as you've kind of already... Liverpool are seemingly in the market to bring a new young centre-half in. We obviously had the Lenny Yoro link last summer. We were sort of tentatively interested in Dean Howson this time around, so I'm not entirely sure why we're looking to sell one, really.
Yeah, and again, transfer plans change. We talk about this, like if Wirtz is the top billing, how far down the pecking order do you go once Dean Howson's gone? Who is it? Who's next? Who's next in line? And at some point, there'll be benchmarking, and that name will drop below where Quansah is on the list, and at that point there's really no amount of money that's worth it, unless it then becomes an equation of, well, if the one who's level with him or one below him, if there's a £30 million difference in terms of pro for Liverpool, then that's maybe where they would consider it.
It's experience though. This lad's Quansah has got experience at a top level for Liverpool. He, once again, we all sat there and we probably would have said, yeah, it's fine. He just plays league. If he hadn't have had that season, he'd have been made up to sit there and get the FA Cup and the League Cup. It's the fact that he was number one alongside Virgil van Dijk that he's had a little bit of a fall from grace, where he's now probably like, no, I want to go and play week in, week out. I had that.
Maybe he just probably needs to reevaluate, recalculate his own thinking. I think I'm 22, which is so young for a centre-back. I've had that experience, I've had that taste. I do want more of that, but I'm going to be a little bit patient. I'm going to have to learn off Ibu, learn off Virgil. It's different for Harvey, I think, because he's a different position, ultimately, as well. He's tended to mature and peak at different times. I think Harvey's had such a go at it, and he's done so well. He should be thinking England, you know what I mean, top international recognition, whereas Quansah's actually had a taste of that, ironically enough. But he does feel he's got more time on his side in a way because of how the careers have kind of gone.
And yet the flip side of all of that is that you as a fan, you hate watching centre-backs make mistakes. Like, you'd rather bring in a young centre-back who you've never seen made a mistake than play a centre-back that you know you've got mistakes in them, because learning on the job at Liverpool is the hardest thing for a centre-back to do, isn't it?
Well, it's not a centre-back, but it's in Emiliano and Sua syndrome, that where you have to watch someone go through the development, and it's hard for people to shake that. Whereas you're right, someone coming in who's new and shiny, and you're not familiar with all the errors that they've made. They just, they come in with a clean slate. There's definitely a thing sometimes, but Liverpool are in a strong position, I think, regardless, as they've got a very, very good, highly rated young centre half there who will have better games, you know, and have more and have a good run if he's kept. I'm certain of it. But yeah, the alternative is they've got to go and find someone, and I think at the moment people in the comments might be able to shout out some names, but I watched the sensible transfers video. I think maybe it was Tifo, it was the Athletic or something, but the names they were throwing out, I was like, I don't play Footy Manager anymore, so like I've never heard of half of these people, and that's where you're getting to. If you want to go and buy a centre half for Liverpool, you've heard of them. That's where we're at.
There is a name that I'd be all right with, but we'll speak about that in probably part 2.
Okay. Let's talk about Andy Robertson. Heavily linked with Atletico Madrid. Chris, this will be very interesting to see how hard Liverpool fight to keep him.
I think they should fight to keep him for a start. I think, you know, it's great that he wants to, you know, potentially explore a move and stuff like that, but at 31 years old, he's just won the Premier League, playing for the most part as the number one left back. You want that experience, you want that leadership in and around the squad. You want people to learn from him as well, you know. I think Liverpool should do everything they can. Equally, you've got to balance that with, you know, been a great servant for us, got a load of money, got our money's worth out of Andy Robertson. But first and foremost, the team and the squad come first, and Andy Robertson for me is a better fit to stick around to work with Kerkez than Kostas Tsimikas, and that's the line that I would be holding if I'm Liverpool Football Club.
So you would rather just see him leave on a free at the end of next season?
absolutely. Why I just don't see there's any issue with that whatsoever. You probably get the same amount, if not more, for Costas because of his age. That being said, if you were to say to me, listen, we might package Andy Robertson and Darwin Nunez up and tempt Atletico Madrid for Julian Alvarez, and that's part of the deal, then I'd be driving Andrew myself.
You've got my interest.
It's. I mean, the talk is, Dan, that Atletico are trying to get Liverpool to basically give him on a free, which for me that's an absolute.
There's no play. I love Mo Salah. I'd die for Mo Salah, but there's no way I'd ever let him go for free when he's contracted down for another year. There's no player in the world. It doesn't surprise me though, because he's a part of that agency.
It's again, it's Atletico sort of behaviour in some regards. It's a pull, and it reminds me a bit of the Henderson decision of slightly different. But Andy Robertson's there. He's taken. I know, yeah. Andy Robertson's taken some stick this season, more criticism than he's ever had as a player. Certainly as a Liverpool player. It's clear that he's slowing down a bit. Like, I'm not privy to all of the inside now, but just from what I've seen him, I don't think he's been at the level this season. And there will be mitigating circumstances, injury at the start of the season, the Euros before it, of course. But we've legged him. So he can't have. He's not. I can't see how he continues at the same level for an infinite number of years. And Atletico Madrid are a brilliant football club, and that when you've gone through a year of that. And then all of a sudden, Diego Simeone and that are going, mate, do you fancy coming and playing at the top of Spain? That would be an interesting proposition for someone like that.
Yeah, I can absolutely see the appeal to him, especially when obviously he's spoken quite openly about the links to left backs, and in particular Milos Kerker's coming in, so he's very aware. He's also said that he's still got the hunger and the fire in his belly to compete for that spot, and that's Andy Robertson in a nutshell, isn't it, really? I agree with Chris in terms of I would rather he walked out the door for free, which isn't a sentiment I particularly like when it comes to Liverpool players next summer, but we've already had more than £8 million worth, haven't we? So I think it makes complete sense to do that. Whatever the fee we would end up getting from this time around, there's more value in keeping him for me. And we had a conversation recently with Owen Beck, obviously another young Liverpool left back, and he spoke glowingly about how Andy Robertson was with him. So I can see that happening when Kerkers comes in, and what a left back to learn from as well. Talk about being there, done it, you know what I mean? So I think it's a bit of a daft move really from Liverpool point of view if we were to keep hold of Tsimikas and Kerkez, whilst clearly two very, very good full-backs. I just think that the balance with Robertson being there instead makes so much more sense. And again, I get the appeal, I get the attraction from Robertson's point of view, and if he wants to be the first choice somewhere, then maybe the time is now. But yeah, if I was Liverpool, I'd be fighting tooth and nail to keep him. Yeah, no, and it's... You're right. I think it weakens our squad. I think he's better than Kostas Tsimikas, and I think Robertson with a young buck coming up makes perfect sense. I do get it from his perspective, though, of the conversations being said, we are buying someone else in for your position. But also maybe there's a little bit of, listen, if Andy Robertson, king of the fight, looks at that and goes, I'm not willing to fight for another year for my place. Doesn't feel like him, does it? No, exactly. No, maybe he hasn't quite got the fire in his belly as a little consideration for this, and he'll know, he's 31, he'll know that he is not the long-term answer at left back for Liverpool. He can't be long-term. If he backs himself and he believes himself, he must surely think he can do next season, and could he get another couple of years? What unless he knows deep down that he's not got that left. He must be looking at Atletico going, you mean I don't have to cross the halfway line? Yeah. I've got another 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years in me if I don't have to do that every single game. Yeah. The appeal must be there for him, don't get me wrong, but he's not over the hill. No. He's nowhere near over the hill. I do think there were extenuating circumstances, the injury, the Euros, like you said, Paul, last season. I think even if he was to stick around next season, he's playing in Champions League games for me. Yeah. He's playing in big games when you need someone that you can trust, and I trust that his level will be better than what we've saw over a 40-game season this year for playing 20 to 30 times. I was going to say exactly that. Yeah, it felt like a couple of times last season, you're right, there was a lot of criticism around him and people threw the gauntlet down a little bit to him, more than ever before really. really, I think it's fair to say, since you've had the football club and he rose to that challenge. I felt like, I remember the Aston Villa game sticks out in my mind at home in particular. I thought he was excellent. You know what I mean? He really went, I'm not finished, don't worry about me. And whilst you're right, like, Father Time is literally undefeated, so there will come a point and it might already be nearing Andy Robertson. I think we'll get a much better version of Robertson for having Kirkes.
Yeah, I agree. Totally agree on that one. Right, okay, short break from us. When we return, we're going to do a bit of Wirtz chat, some Kirkes stuff, and maybe a little chat about how it might fit in for Liverpool in the upcoming season. Back in a sec.
No, Luis Diaz! He's from Caracas! Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Redmen TV Live.
Yeah, for those of you who haven't checked it out yet, the full live special from the Red Weekend is available right now for free on the YouTube channel, and I think on podcasting services as well, if you want to have a little check out of that. There is more to come from that. We're just waiting on final boxes and stuff to be ticked before we can hopefully put some more stuff out of the rest of that sort of show. But yes, in the meantime, me, Chris, Steve, and lots of fun and laughs and a frankly stupid amount of people in a big room watching us do it at the same time. Very, very good fun indeed. We had a couple of comments before we crack on. John Lee, David Blackshaw, the man, the legend, says, I'm so happy you're on. I'm tired already of the Club World Cup. My friends will be rested. We are having a dream window and we can all hope for our first quad
that's
season.
early. That's early, John.
Totally. You'll never walk alone. Go ahead. And William Rigby, I don't understand this one. Who's been your favourite personality hire we've signed?
Okay, is this around like Van Bronckhorst type of thing, or is it like a play-in staff
Does he mean, I don't know, like
type
Is
of
it a
thing? I mean,
player?
does he mean person like
Taffarel might have been just hilarious for who he was, and you know,
in terms of like stature in the game?
Yeah.
We thought, oh yeah, Taffarel.
Randomly bringing Taffarel.
Thiago was probably
Thiago was
in more
vibes.
recent modern times. Yeah, Thiago's up there.
Okay.
Tell you it wasn't Mario.
I mean,
He was a personality.
no one was more excited than Chris Pajak that Mario Balotelli.
Yeah, didn't you
was
say
not.
it would go well?
Yeah, probably a little bit.
There's not many videos that we've deleted from YouTube.
It's not deleted. It's just private.
Don't worry, guys, I've got the back of house there live at 5 p.m.
Yeah, it was for the link.
Anyway, yeah, Fee agreed for Wirtz. They're expecting a medical later on this week. Fine. There's not. We may as well continue to talk like it's effectively a done deal, as much as that will rankle with some people and the idea of jinxes and all that. I can't help it if it is an issue with his medical, nothing to do with me. Two things. First and foremost, I want to discuss the idea that I think, Chris, this does send a message about putting us back at the top of the food chain in footy. You know, Trent is definitely was a concern. Mm-hmm. You know, you don't want that to happen. And look, you touched upon the Canate stuff in the first part. We'll have to see where that goes. That stuff will always happen. Players will want to move on. But if Liverpool are going to conduct themselves, you know, in these kind of situations, then conduct yourself by making sure that you can go and get the best players when they are available, because it does tell football that you know pushovers.
Absolutely. I mean, I keep saying it over the last few weeks, we're going to get the best player that's going to move this summer. I think I still believe that. You know, I think he's absolutely superb. We've clearly got a plan for what we want to do with him. I would love to see that plan more than like anything. Like if we could do some kind of GoFundMe to get £1 million, I'd just pay £1 million for the plan itself. The PowerPoint presentation that Slot made and gave, like just give me the link to that, mate. I just want to see what your plan is. Like, I just want to know, are you going to be some kind of false nine? Are you going to be a 10 for us? Tell us now. Don't make me sit through pre-season games to find out. I just want to know. And the stature of Liverpool, you know, we are the Premier League champions and we're acting like the Premier League champions, and we're trying to say to everybody else, we are going to attack the Premier League next season. You can join us if you want, lads, but we're going to be there fighting tooth and nail for it.
Chloe, what do you think we're going to do with Wirtz? Do you think we're going to change formation? Do you think he's going to be slotted into something that we do already? Or is this impossible to know because there might be another big part of the jigsaw that we've just not seen yet?
This is the problem that I have, is that I think Liverpool want a striker, but I don't know whether there is one available who's good enough for Liverpool to go and spend the money that a striker will cost. So I would like to see him in that number 10 position where Sobbo did play, but I also have this in mind that he can do this false nine role, and Sobbo at times, I think it was away at the Etihad maybe, where him and Kurt at times were doing this kind of false nine role, so I have no doubt that it can be quite fluid in the position that Florian Wirtz will play, but I think you do kind of have to wait to see if there's another piece of the jigsaw, because if we do go and spend quite a decent amount of money on a striker, that might make him solidify his position as a number 10, where if we don't and we're still doing the Diaz, kind of Jota, which one of them is going to play, it might be between Florian Wirtz as well to kind of do that false number 9 role against different opposition. So I don't think anyone truly knows, especially at the fact that like Sobbo didn't do that bad last season and he's such a pivotal part of being the engine room. If you take him out of that, like that could take away the balance from Liverpool because of how much legwork he puts in. Yeah. But then will it also, you know, in rotation with Mark, it's crazy to think about the quality we have in that midfield, and I can only have 3 positions to put them in.
I've recorded a video before, which I'm in the process of kind of putting together. So even after it, that my thoughts aren't totally clear, because I do wonder whether, because I think the landscape changes if you buy a particular type of striker or if you buy no striker whatsoever. And if you buy no striker whatsoever and you happen to sell Darwin Nunez and maybe you sell Jota, or what, you know, there are so many factors in all of this. So my basic understanding is Sobbo plays as the most attacking of the midfielders that we largely have. Mm-hmm. That makes sense that you would just push Wirtz into that position. But I'm not sure it's quite as simple as that, because I also think it's a valid point that Chloe makes. We've had this in the past. When you go more attacking by buying more attacking players, sometimes you do forget what you lose. And now he's got a great engine, a great worker, and he's going to do a lot of the dirty work himself naturally, of course. But it is a consideration. The one example is Liverpool, Rafa Benitez and right backs, and eventually settling on Glenn Johnson. And Glenn Johnson was actually a really good right back. But then you lost something when you got rid of Arbeloa because he had a bit more of a defensive sensibility. Yeah,
it's an interesting one. I agree with all of Chloe's points really, and there are lots of variables, particularly when it comes to, you know, who's going to stay and who's going to go in terms of the squad. But one thing we do know, it doesn't matter what the squad makeup is, when you are commanding that fee and Liverpool are going to pay that fee, he's going to play. Like, that's as simple as that. And whether he often operates from sort of a left-hand side, and he comes inside from that position as well. He's done the false 9 stuff, as you mentioned, he's done the 10 stuff. I still have him down as the 10, because whilst I take the point on what you might lose from losing Szoboszlai in that position, I think people are overlooking just how much of a shift he puts in. Like, his pressing in that Bayer Leverkusen side is absolutely phenomenal. Like, he's often led the
and he
press,
will do the dirty work.
He's intelligent at it as well. So yeah, I think
second most ball recoveries in the final third in the Bundesliga last season.
I had a conversation last week with somebody from Opta about him, and some of the metrics he's top of across Europe, you know what I mean, let alone what he did at Bayer Leverkusen in terms of their squad. So yeah, I think people are
we getting a little lost?
A little bit?
Yeah, exactly, because obviously people are looking at, we're going to do a bit on Ryan Cherky on the bias show, but people do naturally get drawn towards what he does on the ball.
The stylish stuff, because he does all of that, absolutely does, yeah. But I think people are, again, just choosing to or ignoring the fact that he will do the other side of the game as well.
Can I also say, I think it's because we're also aware that Salah's being told to do a different role. So last season was highlighted more than ever just how much running everyone had to do on that right hand side in terms of exactly to make up for Salah basically being this lad. You just choose when you want to sprint, but mainly sprinting behind, please, or with the ball running out of defence. So I think mainly it's because last season you saw, instead of what you'll see with Florian Wirtz, which might be more goals and assists, last season everyone highlighted Sobbo's ability to just basically run for not just a right winger but also a right back at times, and cover every blade of grass. So I think maybe the Salah position last season has got this all in.
What's interesting about it is the way it was kind of put to me, and this isn't to be negative around Dom at all, because you're absolutely right, the shift he put in was phenomenal. Like, he left absolutely everything out there, every blade of grass is exactly the right terminology. However, it feels as though Wirtz might be a bit smarter with his use of energy. Maybe. Like, he might only do the stuff that's absolute necessity. Like, sometimes he feels like he's not doing it, and then all of a sudden, he's gone and won the ball back for you, know what I mean? So I think he's got it in his locker, and he might have to do a little bit more in this Liverpool team, who knows, to compensate for Salah. And if we've got Frimpong, obviously, who's got frightening pace, and he'll put shifts in up and down the right as well. So the whole dynamic of that side could well look different. But I just think, you look at upgradable positions in the Liverpool side, don't you? And obviously the striker's one, the left-back's one, I think it's fair to say. Certainly was, obviously, Kirkers might be coming in, and I think the 10 in terms of output was one. And this isn't just upgradable, like, this is needle moving shit. Like Florian Wirtz, I would have loved us to have gone and do 4 or 5 bits of business, and then a dream signing would have been Florian Wirtz, and that's one of the first bits we're doing.
Yeah. The thing about the 10 situation, Chris, is that Szoboszlai is the closest thing we've sort of had to that, but he doesn't really play as a 10, as we're kind of saying there. He plays effectively like the right hand side for Liverpool, and most of his work is there. And so when you're trying to look at Wirtz and what he does, and Dan's right, so much of his work, he naturally drifts the left hand side as well. So it's not a straight. It'll look different, because he's a different footballer, but we'll have to do different things almost to get the best out of Wirtz anyway.
Yeah, we will. And listen, he's going to demand the football. I think we know that. He has a lot of touches during football games. He's going to, for me, he does actually fulfil a lot of what Trent did for us in terms of on the ball, moving the ball forwards, progressing it, all that type of stuff. What is best attribute for me is finding space. And I don't think it really matters too much where he starts to find space, whether that be a false 9 or that be a number 10 position. If your best attribute is finding space, you find space wherever you start. You go where the space is ultimately. Like, I am like Chloe, I really want to see the rest of the puzzle. Yeah. Because I think Liverpool would be sound with not signing a centre forward and using Florian Wirtz as a number 9, but I also don't think that's the long-term plan. I do think they probably want to find the right type of forward to play with him. Why I kind of like the Ekitike links, other than his name being absolutely sensational, is that he is actually really good at flicking the ball back to the attacking midfielder in the penalty area, and I think finding someone who can then do that and create. But ultimately what Slot wants, I think, from this Liverpool side is central domination, and Wirtz does that better than anybody else. I think we want someone who can get on the edge of the penalty area and keep the ball moving dead quickly. That is not Dom's strong point. That is actually probably his weakest point. When you pass the ball to him on the edge of the area, it's a little bit slow, it's a little bit laboured, hesitant's a perfect word, and it's probably just a safe ball out to the right winger because that's what I know I can do. That's not Wirtz. Wirtz is going to find something special for you on the edge of the area, and that central domination opens up Frimpong's pace if it's him on the right hand side, or Conor Bradley. Kirkes takes attention away from Mo Salah because you're doubling up on him most games. If he's over on that left hand side, you can't have 2 players dedicated to Mo Salah and Frimpong, or 3 players dedicated to those 2, because you've got to respect Gakpo, Diaz, Wirtz, Kirkes coming down the left hand side. So it just changes loads for me.
The other thing about it is we've spoken how Slot's entire system is a bit not more protected, but it's only if you can put your striker in behind one-on-one with the goalkeeper and having that goal-scoring opportunity do you do the risky passes. Where this time, it's Florian Wirtz, lads, and it's not Trent at a right-back position doing it, it's Florian Wirtz in that number 10 position doing it. So actually, we can take more risks because of the quality of player on the ball, where maybe if it is someone else, the Curtis Jones, Sobbo, even Harvey Elliott in that number 10 position, maybe we do play more calculated. But with Florian Wirtz, that might change it. It might be the fact that he's just that they have so much trust in his ability, and the fact that he's that good. Yeah. You can do those riskier passes, and they're further up the pitch, so it's less of a risk.
There's just the point on it at the moment. We don't trust anyone in that side to do that, what he does. Like, Salah is our main creative driving force, and everything we do is geared towards either getting Mo Salah on the ball to create something or getting him on the end of something to finish something off. But Mo Salah plays right wing for Liverpool. Like, and I know he drifts, but that's where he does all his best work, and then getting into the box. McAllister is still predominantly a left-sided midfielder in how he plays. Szoboszlai is predominantly a right-sided midfielder. Diaz will float around naturally, and I think that's why we feel he's a bit more of a natural fit in that number 9 for us. But Wirtz will go anywhere. Yeah. He'll go anywhere, and exactly Chris said, he'll pick up space, you'll get the ball to him, and he'll make magic happen from wherever he is. And that's going to be fascinating because, as I say, it's so unlike what we've got. And if Szoboszlai could do that, I think we'd have let him do that, but I don't think he can do that. I think McAllister can do a bit of that, but he's not as naturally as much of a final third player as obviously
he's also
as Wirtz is.
In this
exactly.
Yeah.
So that's why it's so. One of the reasons why it's so super exciting, because I do genuinely think, like, here's a lad where you're right, the formation I'm sure Slot will still call it a 4-3-3, whatever it is. It might look even more like a 4-2-3-1 than it's ever looked before, but in reality, he'll be left wing, and he'll be playing give and goes with Gakpo, and then he'll be arriving in the box and smashing stuff in from the edge of the area, and then he'll be sliding Mo Salah in from the right hand channel. You know what I mean? All that kind of stuff.
For me, it's gonna be 4-2-4 for the most part. Like, do you know what I mean? I think that's what we're going to see. Now, you can say it's 4-2-4, you can say it's a 4-2-2 as well if you want. I think you're going to have McAllister, you're going to have Gravenberch. I think you're going to guarantee
it won't be that.
I think you're going to have Szoboszlai and Florian Wirtz central regions, and you're going to have 2 others attacking.
That's how good Wirtz is. We're going to play with 2 less men.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
For 2-2-2. You know what I meant. And I think that's where it comes down to for me. I do think central progression is what Slot wants, and he'll use Wirtz to do that.
Can I ask who's, you said there that he could play number 9, and you mentioned Etitike. Who is the striker which benefits? Like, have you had a look at that?
I do like Etitike because I did look into him a while ago. He is raw. Like, don't get me wrong. There are loads of players out there that are raw that you could look at and stuff. I mean, Jaros is obviously someone that people.
Haaland's face after going in the California sun.
Absolutely. I honestly don't know is the answer to that. I think it really is what the plan is for Wirtz. I still wouldn't be surprised if Wirtz was our false 9. I really wouldn't. I do tend to think it's probably not the long-term plan, but it wouldn't surprise me if this season that was it.
It's just impossible to judge from Bayer Leverkusen, isn't it, and what he's done from there, because he's played up front for them. He's played on his own for them. He's played in the 2 up front for them. He's played in the 10. I say naturally drifts more to the left than the right, but he'll go on the right if needs be and all that kind of stuff. But no, there's not many teams who've got the same goal threat as we have from either winger. So you're dead right. It might seem nominally like a bit of a waste putting him further up the pitch, but he won't be there. He'll be, because Gakpo and Salah will just end up more narrow.
That's the point, isn't it? If you've gone from a lad who gets 15 to 20 touches in your number 9 position to a lad who's getting 80 touches, 60 touches in your number 9 position, that's the biggest upgrade you can ask for. you know, and all of a sudden it kind of makes sense why Salah or Gakpo or Diaz from that left-hand side are doing even better, because they've got somebody else that understands where they're going to be. So, and I do think Dom's massively important to our Liverpool play. I think, you know, whether that's Conor Bradley or Jeremy Frimpong, but with Mo Salah on that right-hand side, you still want Dom over on that right-hand side. Wirtz isn't going to be on that right-hand side. He's going to generally be shifted himself to the left-hand side because that's where he feels comfortable. So.
Yeah, and this is the thing is, you try. I don't watch Bundesliga, and none of us here are religious watchers of the Bundesliga or, you know, his career. And there will be people who've watched him will have a really clear sense of how he might slot, and hopefully slot the prime amongst them all. But it's you want to hear positions, and I think when you say a 10, we'll all have an idea of what we think a 10 will look like, and there might be variation within that. When we say false 9, it's Bobby Firmino. That's who we will think of when we think of a number, a false 9, because that's our experience. When we think 9, it could be anyone from Torres to Fowler to Rush, couldn't it? There's not being a player. We just haven't owned a player like this. And someone might go, yeah, we have Kenny Dalglish, but no, because Kenny Dalglish was effectively a 10 or a false 9 in those kind of days, but it was quite a narrow thing by comparison. This guy's gonna go fucking
people
everywhere.
Like Coutinho, yeah.
Maybe, but even Coutinho was a fucking left winger. Everyone remembers him as a 10, but he wasn't. You know, he played in the areas Gakpo wants to play in. You know, but yeah, I'm dead excited. Right, let's do another potential in. We hope there will be big movement on this week, Dan. Milos Kerkez. It's been a bit quiet on him, but it does feel like the noise is starting to sort of bubble up again.
Yeah, I felt like he was generating most of the noise around this transfer for a little spell there. No, it does. I think we've been waiting for Bournemouth to get their man in. They've been quiet, really, when it comes to getting many sort of news from them, but they've confirmed the signing of Adrien Truffert early on today from France. So, yeah, they've got their guy now, so I think we're expecting to see quite rapid movement on the Kerkez thing. I saw Mark Douglas earlier on said it was 40 to 45 million package, sort of ironing out, unlike my shirt, the final details on that.
Any shirt you own.
Yeah, granted. But yeah, I think personal terms are going to be pretty straightforward on this one. He's clearly desperate to join Liverpool, and why wouldn't you be ultimately? And I think it's a really, really good piece of business, because obviously 22, still lots and lots to learn, lots of experience to be had, and lots of development to come. But when it comes to like exciting fullbacks and sort of breakout seasons, if you like, in the Premier League, he ticks all of those boxes, doesn't he? And he's very, you know, to come back to Andy Robertson from before, he is very Andy Robertson of a few years back, let's be honest, full of energy, full of running, bags and bags of quality with his left foot, lovely delivery, eye for goal as well. So yeah,
better at probably putting the ball in the back of the net.
Possibly, yeah.
Definitely.
If you can score from sort of 8 yards out on the angle on the volley, we'll be laughing.
Again, just to bring Glenn Johnson up twice in one podcast.
Wow.
But do you remember that Portsmouth goal that he scored? Where he scored an absolute thunderbaster goal.
He
did.
What was the one where he got his head kicked open Chelsea?
Yes, he had an eye. He knew what he was doing.
But we have had a few of them. Oh, he could have had a real goal threat to us.
Moreno was that for me after that Spurs goal.
Lovely goals. But yeah, what I think again is important to remember with someone like Kirk, a lot of people look at the eye-catching, look what he does, delivering crosses, assists, the Newcastle goal people talk about. But again, I had that conversation last week with the data side of things, and his record when it comes to challenges and winning tackles and winning duels, which everyone's obsessed with at the minute, is really, you know, astonishing as well. So yeah, really excited.
Great. Just in terms of who you've spoken to and the sheer volume of people you've spoken to over the last week or two around Wirtz and Kerkez and co.
Yeah, I won't be able to remember. Might need a hand here.
Dennis
Meltzer from Bayer Leverkusen, and Kevin Hatchard, Dennis Meltzer.
We had a data journalist,
David Sagar
was another one.
Yeah, Tamas Briskin, by the way, former Watford and QPR striker, played with Milos Kerkez in Hungary. He's been capped like 70 times by Hungary. He actually took him under his wing at his first club, because around COVID times, and Milos was actually sort of considering what to do with his life a little bit, but Tamas Briskin said, no, you're a good footballer, stick at it. And next thing you know, he's in AC Milan. So yeah, Tamas Briskin, and he spoke really highly of him, not just in terms of the footballer, in terms of the training as well, but just in terms of the person. So yeah,
it's mad to think that. You go, COVID was like 2 weeks ago, wasn't it? And you're like, oh no, that was like 5 years. But he'd have been a child when that was.
Literally, he was 17 at the time. Like, he was starting to wonder, because it was a grim time for everyone, wasn't it? He was like, do I really want to stick this out? But
doing your A levels on Zoom or whatever. Okay. Boss. If anyone wants to get access to all of Dan's journo insights and beyond over on Redmen Plus, we've got a code. It is Wirtz, WIRTZ. Subscribers are a monthly captain, and you can get that first month for half price over on redmenplus.com. Right, cool. That will be us for now over on the Biased Football Pod. We'll be having some Club World Cup chat and then catching up with some of the transfers from around the league as well. Hope to see you over there, particularly if you're going to go and use that Wirtz code. Other than that, hopefully this time next week, we'll have some confirmed signings, and then we can all be the big sigh of relief and then get really angry why they're not moving on with other ones. That's how it works, right?
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair. Right, see you next week. Ta-ra.